Joe. This looks all right, doesn't it?
It's come along, yeah, it's looking good.
You're not too bad at garden design build.
I'm getting the knack of it. Yeah, I'm getting it. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very nice, mate. Looks beautiful. I want to ask you what your idea was behind how you've designed this. So like the multi-tier thing, the plants you chose, why you chose them, why you chose the paving you chose.
So we were introduced to the clients through Traymore, who were doing the build. They've done a lovely extension, single story on the back with the big bifolds, and then a double story on the side. And the existing garden that they had just wasn't going to work with the layout. There was an existing retaining wall that came through the garden, and it meant that when the bifolds were open, the existing retaining wall would have been right in the way, and it just you wouldn't have got the money for value, or the value for money, sorry. The idea was to create the garden into usable spaces. The existing garden utilised pressed concrete slabs, which are a bit of a basic material, but the client kept them immaculately clean. So we knew from the offset that any material that we were going to propose had to be a clean and a nice pure aesthetic to match the interior that Traymore were doing.
And by pure aesthetic, I'm thinking like something that wasn't too sort of fussy, something fairly...
Yeah, so originally the clients wanted to use natural stone walling and potentially another natural stone paving, but the guys building the extension were going to do a porcelain tile on the interior kitchen floor, so it just made sense to flow that all the way out. And then again with the walling, the natural stone would have just been another material, so it would have complicated the palette, I think. Keeping it simple, using the same bricks as they've used in the extension, gave a sense of cohesion and flow from inside out, which I think's worked really well.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem the biggest sort of question I get from people that love gardens but aren't in the trade, like a homeowner saying, I want this, basically, looking at a picture. When they try and create it without someone like yourself, I think a lot of the time they forget about the things you just said, like the overcomplicating the sort of materials, the mix of materials, overcomplicating the colour palette, and they don't understand maybe what to do with the shapes that you've created.
I think scale is important. Whenever you go redesigning a garden, I think you need to allow for enough space for your table and chairs, which obviously actually takes up a lot more space than you might imagine. So generally would allow 3 to 4 meters, depends on the paving size that you're using. So here we've used 600 square units, so we've done 6 or 7 bands, full bands out, which then gives a comfortable space here. And then the same logic up with the more relaxed seating. You need to allow space for people to spread out.
So talk me through the planting choices. Like I noticed you've got 2 multi-stem birch trees kind of like framing the garden, this sort of left-hand side of the garden, and then you've got some sort of shrubs and sort of small plants as well. Were you following a theme with that, or like is that something you just come up with yourself?
So again, the same logic with the planting as the hard materials. We followed quite a limited, muted palette of different tones of green. The majority of the flowers here are white flowering, but there's a mixture of evergreens and deciduous things. We basically didn't want the borders to be empty during the winter months, So there is, yeah, the evergreen Portuguese laurel hedge, which also acts as a bit of a break. If that wasn't there, then you'd see a lot of brickwork. The brickwork is required to obtain the flat lawn at the top, but just having a softening face to it just breaks up the areas a bit more and gives it more of a feel of a garden. But yeah, it's quite a simplistic planting scheme with, yeah, like I said, lots of shades of green and not too fussy, which then, yeah, gives the overall garden a feel of sort of class and elegance, really. We designed the outbuilding from the offset, and the clients mentioned that they always wanted an area that they could potentially have a bar in.
So did you actually design the outbuilding yourself?
Yeah, so it was designed initially as part of the scheme. The shape wasn't supposed to be like that, but it sort of developed over time. Once the garden was completed, we then looked at it again, and I recommended Fowler Brothers Carpentry to the clients for building outbuildings. That's what they sort of specialise in now. And Ben, the company director, suggested putting the bifolds on, which was a really nice touch. It makes the whole space work really well, flowing indoor and outdoor, and then also provides a lovely space to sit and look back over the garden once you're in there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to notice, and I'm not saying that the owners of this house like beer like I do, but that is very tactical, because when you're up there having a drink, enjoying the sunshine, you don't have to walk back to the house. You can just walk into the outbuilding and grab a drink. And
you might have noticed there's already 2 fridges in there.
I have, yeah.
They're good to go.
It's a well thought out build. This, yeah, you've covered the bases very well. I like it. Is there anything you want to cover in particular? Something you want to mention? Or someone you want to mention? Anything like that?
No, I'd like to say a big thanks to my mate Craig for sorting out the paving.
This wasn't, I didn't say that, it's for you to say that. You idiot. That's going to stay in. That's staying in. Well, it was an absolute pleasure working with you, Joe, as always, and I love what you've done here, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot of inquiries about the build you did, and you're going to get some inquiries, I think, about your design work. I'm looking forward to doing some more work with you.
I'm sure there will be many more.
Yeah.